Hi everyone, I'm Brian. This is Above Board. If you're joining us for the first time or if you've been with us from the beginning, welcome. Today I'm going to have a look at Zombicide Green Horde, the latest release from Cool Mini or Not. And later on, we're going to have a look at CMoN's recent announcement of their latest in the Zombicide series, the futuristic Zombicide Invader. Now, many of you are probably familiar with the Zombicide series, but for those of you new to the game, let me bring you up to speed. Zombicide began life as a zombie apocalypse miniatures game set in a modern contemporary setting. The game makes references to such pop culture mainstays as Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead and John Romero's Dawn of the Dead films, as well as a host of other zombie-based movies, television shows, and literature. After releasing several standalone games, referred to as seasons, several big box and small box expansions, as well as other components and accessories, CMoN then changed up the formula with Zombicide Black Plague, introducing us to the first medieval fantasy-themed entry to the series. This version of the game proved enormously popular, and after a successful Kickstarter campaign, CMoN released the base game, a big box expansion, and several small box add-ons. Zombicide Green Horde represents Season 2 of the Zombicide fantasy setting. At the time, the crowdfunding campaign for Green Horde set a record for the most funded board game on Kickstarter, coming in at just over $5 million. So successful was the campaign, in fact, that it furnished the entry with no less than 2 fully realized big box expansions, a multitude of small box add-ons, and enough accessories and Kickstarter exclusives to see you through a zombie apocalypse. Like a plastic one, not a real zombie apocalypse. That'd be horrible. Can you imagine? At the time of this video, CMoN has yet to release these expansions, but they are due out around June or July of this year for those who kickstarted the game. So here it is, and I have to say I am very impressed. Everything about Green Horde, from the artwork and the rulebook layout to the miniatures and the components, are typical of CMoN's high production standards. The miniatures themselves are of an industry-leading standard and come with a level of detail not often seen in mass-produced games. Certainly there are companies out there that produce some incredible miniatures with levels of detail that would boggle your mind. However, these games often come at a higher price point, and the steps between opening the box to playing the game are often interrupted by endless hours of sprues, cutting, gluing, and sanding, not to mention painting, before you even achieve a playable miniature. The miniatures in Zombicide are ready to go the moment you open the box and remove them from their custom inserts. Unlike previous Zombicide games, the threat here is no longer undead humans. No, here you're going to face orcs, goblins, and other fantasy species who have succumbed to the zombie plague. Each mini is finely detailed, and even miniatures of the same type have varied poses to add a little variety to gameplay. These details go to the next level when painted, but even if left as they are, they still look great on the board. Speaking of which, Green Horde, like its predecessors, uses a modular tile system to create unique and varied game boards. Each of these double-sided tiles can be flipped, rotated, and arranged to create a virtually limitless range of gameplay areas. Each entry to the series has added its own flourish while still remaining true to the unique style of play that makes Zombicide accessible and so much fun. Green Horde takes it to the next level with a host of game-changing mechanics that really set it aside from the previous entries. So, how does it play? The game itself is cooperative and can host between 1 to 6 players. The players start by choosing a scenario from the book, or they can create their own. Each player ideally plays one character, however, most scenarios are intended for 4 or more characters, so it may be that some players control more than one character to make up the numbers. In solo games, it's normal for a player to control up to 6 characters on their own. The board is then set up, placing the objective tokens, doors, zombie spawn zones, and exit token according to the chosen scenario. A player is then selected to be the first player for the first round and receives the first player token. At the end of each round, this token is passed to the player to the left, who then becomes the first player for that round, and so on. The game's rounds are split into 3 phases: the player's phase, the zombies phase, and the end phase. During the player's phase, each character begins with 3 actions available to them. They may choose to spend these actions on any 3 tasks. Some of these tasks may include moving, attacking, searching for items, and opening doors, among others. The players may use any combination of these actions, so for instance, they may choose to move 2 zones using 2 of their actions, then use their third action to attack. Or they may open a door, move, and attack. The only exception to this is the search action, which may only be performed once per round per character unless otherwise stated. Some actions result in the character making noise, in which case that player places a noise token in the zone where the noise occurred. Zombies are attracted to noise, so the less sound you make, the better. Each character also counts as a noise token for this purpose, so never underestimate what a liability it can be to simply be alive. If a player kills a zombie or secures an objective, they gain experience on their player dashboard. For example, when securing an objective, you gain 5 experience points to your player dashboard, like so. The experience track is divided into colors beginning with blue, then yellow, then moving into orange, and finally red. This track represents the current threat level of the zombie invasion. After all the players have taken their turn, the game moves into the zombies phase. This is where all the zombies currently on the board may move or attack using the one action available to each zombie mini. The exception is the runners, fast-moving zombies who each receive 2 actions, making them a very real and present threat. Zombies act according to the game's AI. In this case, zombies give priority to targets they can see, then to noise. So if a character is within a zombie's line of sight, the zombie will move 1 space closer to that character. If there are 2 characters visible in different locations, the zombie will move towards either the closest target or the noisiest target. If there are 2 targets at the same distance in different locations, then noise will be the deciding factor. So all those times your parents told you to be quiet when you were growing up, it turns out they're actually training you to survive in a world overrun with the hellish hordes of the undead. Thanks, Mum and Dad. After all the zombies on the board have taken their actions, the players then draw a yellow zombie spawn card for each of the zombie spawn locations on the board, moving clockwise. 1 card is drawn for each spawn location in order. The cards are divided into colors ranging from blue at the bottom to red at the top. The spawn level corresponds to the highest current experience level of the group. You then spawn zombies according to the current threat level. So the moment one character moves from blue to yellow, everything changes. For instance, if 6 players are in the yellow experience bar and one of the characters gains enough experience to move up to the orange experience bar, all spawn cards from that point on spawn at the orange level. If you're not careful, you run the risk of leaving someone behind, resulting in some characters having a multitude of skills and equipment, while others are stuck in the blue zone with nothing but my starting sword holding off your orange level zombie horde, Gary. The beauty of Zombicide is it rewards decision making that benefits the group as a whole. So do you move together and progress everyone on a level playing field, or do you dedicate a couple of characters to combat while the rest move quickly to secure objectives? And the answer is a resounding whatever you want, really. That's what I love about this game. There's really no right or wrong way to play it, especially if your main objective is to have fun. The spawn phase also brings us to the first major change in the traditional mechanics, the infamous horde itself. Each time a spawn card is drawn, after placing the models on the board accordingly, the players then check the cards for either the Assemble the Horde or Enter the Horde titles. Assemble the Horde cards instruct the players to place additional models of the corresponding zombie type to an area designated off the main game board. This is where the Horde will gradually grow until a spawn card is drawn bearing the Enter the Horde title, at which point all the models placed in the Horde area enter the game at the selected spawn point. If the Horde enters, no further spawn cards are drawn for that round. At this point, the game enters the End phase, where all noise tokens are removed, the players resolve end-of-round conditions from cards and skills, and the first player token is moved to the player to the left. You may be wondering just how it is that your small group of survivors are able to contend with such a massive and potentially overwhelming threat as the Horde. Well, the game has an answer to that too. Green Horde counters the increased danger of the Horde with a new addition to the game, the Trebuchet. This gorgeous little siege engine is what will make the difference between squeezing out a victory or being slowly eaten by ravenous undead while Gary continues leveling himself up while helping himself to the snacks you bought, claiming he forgot his wallet and promising he'll supply the food next time. The Trebuchet must be manned by one of the survivors in order to be effective. The survivor chooses any one of 3 different ammunition types and expends all 3 of his actions firing one shot targeting any zone on the board beyond range 2. A successful hit will destroy any zombies in the target zone, as well as any friendlies, and Gary. But that's not all. The Trebuchet can actually target the Horde area before they've had a chance to enter the board, which means you now have a choice between reducing the Horde's numbers or taking out an existing threat somewhere on the board, all the while, of course, ensuring your siege crew are safe from any enemies within range 2. Now, this element is something I really appreciate, as I feel it adds an extra layer of complexity and strategy to the game without making things too complicated. So, there's a lot more to come once the planned expansions and add-ons hit retail shelves later this year. And sooner than that if, like myself, you pledged on the Kickstarter. Now, I have to admit, I went almost all in on this one, so I'm really looking forward to featuring those additional components on a future episode once they're released. We're talking dragons, ballistae, the cast of Stranger Things, and much more. And speaking of more, during the filming of this episode, Cool Mini or Not announced their recent Kickstarter, Zombicide Invader. Now, this futuristic addition to the Zombicide series is set on a mining colony in the depths of space. And I have to say, it looks fantastic. I've been checking the daily updates on this thing. We're talking sentry bots, turrets, you name it. All those kind of typical 80s, 90s science fiction tropes are in there. Even the artwork by Adrian Smith, who's now working in-house for Cool Mini or Not, has that nostalgic kind of feel, similar to Space Hulk or Space Crusade. The Kickstarter campaign for Zombicide Invader is set to go live on April 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so do check that one out. Now, as usual, I'm going to leave links in the description below to all the products featured here today, so please have a look there if you're interested in learning more. So that's been my overview of Zombicide Green Horde. Please let me know what you think about the Zombicide series. What's your favorite entry so far? What are your thoughts on Green Horde? And is Zombicide Invader something you're interested in? I really look forward to hearing from you. In the next episode, we're going to take a look at Fallout, the board game, based on the hit video franchise of the same name. So please check that out as well. In the meantime, I'm Brian. You've been watching Above Board. Thank you and happy gaming.